What's up, friends? Welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about learning new skills. So I'm going to be relating this research into my recent experience with learning how to drive a stick shift truck in CDL school. But this research really applies to anything in life where we're looking to learn a new skill and create that state of neuroplasticity that's going to allow us to learn that new skill and to retain that information over the long term. So I'm going to start off with a study from a book that I recently read called Compete to Create by Michael Gervais, and the co-author, I forgot his name, but they were both coaches for the Seahawks. So they ran this study where they had someone who identified as a weekend warrior golfer. So he just played for fun, win or lose, doesn't really care that much, he just wants to play the game. Second was a semi-pro golfer, athlete, and third was a professional golfer. So with the weekend warrior, what they did with all of them was they had people watching, they had cameras there, and they told them that for every yard putted, a certain amount of money was going to be donated to a specific charity. So they created a high pressure environment. Now with the weekend warrior, what they found was that when he went up to swing, in comparison to when they had them do the same round in that non-pressure environment, so they had him do it just regular, his heart rate stayed about the same when he was about to hit the ball. It increased a tiny bit, but not much. Now with the semi-pro, his heart rate increased a lot when they put him in the high pressure environment, but it didn't go back down. And in the regular environment, where it wasn't a high pressure environment, his heart rate didn't increase as much. Now with the professional golfer, what they found was that his heart rate increased a lot in the high pressure environment, but then right before he was going to hit the golf ball, he was able to bring his heart rate back down. This is the really interesting thing. This is the nuance that comes with learning new skills, because we don't necessarily want to be so cool and so calm and have that attitude of like, well, I don't really care all of the time. Now, sometimes we can be in a playful state and be in a low stake state, and that's good and it's healthy. But for certain skills that we want to learn, sometimes we do want to have an initial burst of stress. And now I'm going to go into the research of Andrew Huberman. So what he found is for neuroplasticity, for really creating new neural pathways and learning new skills, we want 3 neurotransmitters. The first one is adrenaline, and adrenaline is like the stimulus to do something. It's like, adrenaline is like, well, if I don't get up and get out, I'm not going to be able to earn money, my family won't be able to eat. Adrenaline is like, I need to go out and get food or I'm going to starve. I need to get water or I'm going to die of thirst. Adrenaline is I need to get out of here or maybe in harm's way. Adrenaline sometimes gets a bad rap, and it plays a specific role. Now what he found is there's actually a circuit for quitting, which brings us into our next neurotransmitter. And the circuit for quitting in our brain, like when we actually decide to give up, it's not that we've run out of actual energy, it's that we run out of neural energy. And the circuit for quitting in our brain is too much adrenaline, not enough dopamine to buffer the adrenaline. So the next neurotransmitter that's needed is dopamine. And dopamine is released when we feel like we're in pursuit of the goal. When we actually achieve the goal, then that's different. That's a whole different set of chemicals that can get released, like endorphins and things like that. And then for like the actual enjoyment of, the fruits of your labor. But for the actual process, it's dopamine that's going to be released when we feel like we make these incremental steps towards a goal. So what I do to optimize for dopamine, primarily just through my mindset, is I try to focus on goals that I feel like are important to me, and I use optimism to look for where did I make a little bit of progress, and whether I won or I didn't win the basketball game I played, if I can focus on, well, my dribbling was pretty good today, I made those few shots in that particular environment where I was being guarded under pressure, then just focusing on those things gives me a feeling like I'm making progress towards a goal and gives me a healthy boost of dopamine. Because dopamine is also a double-edged sword. I'm sure that you know that, just looking at your phone, you can release dopamine, but then your dopamine receptors can become kind of numb to some of the slower earned dopamine. So doing things like digital minimalism can help to reset the dopamine receptors, and then having goals that you feel are worthwhile and focusing on the process of going towards those goals, but not necessarily on the outcome of every day's work, just the process of, wow, I'm going towards it, I showed up, and that is an accomplishment in itself. So the last neurotransmitter to this trinity is acetylcholine. Acetylcholine, our brain makes more acetylcholine when we focus on anything. So just getting into a focused, concentrated state. And what happened with me is when I started to get a lot more comfortable at driving the stick shift truck on the road, I noticed that at every stoplight, and sometimes just while on the road, I would take these slow inhales and slow exhales through my nose. And when we exhale through our nose, especially slowly, we actually make our own acetylcholine. And the vagus nerve is what makes the acetylcholine in our body. Actually, acetylcholine was called vagus stuff, and it was first discovered with someone poking the vagus nerve of a frog and found that it released something that he was calling vagus stuff, which was actually acetylcholine. So our vagus nerve is actually greater activated when the carbon dioxide is a little bit higher. So that means that we don't want to offload a bunch of air. So we don't want to breathe out hard or fast like a hyperventilation type of breath. What we want to be able to do in a situation where the stress already went up, and then we want to be able to bring the stress down a little bit, is to take this slow, silent exhale through the nose. Now I do it in the car, and I just notice like I'm able to put myself back into the state of focus, because keep in mind the adrenaline is already there. I optimize for adrenaline with cold showers, with workouts, with microdoses of L-tyrosine. So I already have that as a baseline to have a general level of alertness. And then I'm focusing on my goal. I'm focusing right away on the stuff I'm doing right. I'm focusing on the stuff I'm doing wrong. But even in my own head, I've manipulated myself to know that if I make a mistake, it's progress, because I'm able to point out the mistake that I made, and I know that I learn from mistakes. So I stay optimistic about win or lose. So I know that I'm getting some dopamine and I'm getting some adrenaline while I'm driving that truck, and then I'm getting the acetylcholine. But not only am I getting the acetylcholine, but it's actually the heart rate variability that happens when we breathe slowly. Is it opens up our baroreceptors, and so our body becomes more sensitive to the acetylcholine we're making, and the acetylcholine actually works more as it should, and that it slows our heart rate down, because people with poor heart rate variability tend to exhale faster and through the mouth, and you might still be making acetylcholine, but your heart and the receptors on your veins aren't picking it up, because you're not in a state to create good state of flow, a good state of heart rate variability. So slowing the breath down, especially the exhale breath, and having that be calm, helps to activate the vagus nerve, to create acetylcholine, and for the heart to respond to that acetylcholine, creating heart rate variability. I hope that makes a lot of sense. I also do this before I shoot. So if I'm gonna do a shot, and I notice when I play basketball that if I'm open for a second, instead of rushing to the shot, I notice that if I have the time to do an exhale through my nose, I more often make my shots. So that's something I like to do, and I know that there's a few people who watch some of the professional athletes and how they take this slow, especially on their free throws. slow breath out through their nose, and they shoot the ball. And that brings you into that immediate state of focus because your vagus nerve is creating that acetylcholine. It's helping your body to focus. It's giving you that last neurotransmitter because you know during the game your dopamine levels and your adrenaline levels are going to be there. They're going to be fluctuating. And getting that acetylcholine through the exhale to bring you into that focus state, to be able to go up into stress and back down into focus in order to be in an optimal state to learn, be in an optimal state to play the game, and to create that state of neuroplasticity. So I hope you guys found today's video helpful. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Comment down below, what new skills are you learning and what tools and strategies are you using to learn those skills. I look forward to hearing about it, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a beautiful day.